But first, it's been a huge week in national affairs. That's always the way when a new government begins work in a new parliament and starts to push its weight around. From setting emissions targets and whipping the Morrison government over economic numbers, to scrapping the cashless debit card and sounding tough on foot and mouth disease, there's been a lot to unpack. And the theme through it all, though, has been Labor's endless blame game.
The budget we inherited is bursting with waste and rorts. The former government found it very difficult, indeed impossible, to get some of their commitments away.
This is the same mob that let the Ruby Princess come in. A bit more noticeable than a pair of shoes was docked at Sydney Harbour. Everyone got off and brought COVID in. That was on your watch. The truth is, we are acting with the strongest biosecurity response in Australia's history.
I guess we've just got to forget that it was the New South Wales Health Department that let the Ruby Princess in, but that's for another night. There was one major own goal the Albanese government scored this week, which opposition leader Peter Dutton rightly picked at in question time: the abolition of the Australian Building and Construction Commission. He was like a dog with a bone.
The Labor Party has sided with union bosses over home buyers, which will drive up construction costs. Why is Labor making a bad situation worse? Officials from the CFMEU have been charged with thousands of offences. Has the Prime Minister met with any of the many union bosses from the CFMEU accused of criminal behaviour, including sexual assault, harassment and rape? He's choosing to belittle the question that was put. Instead of playing games and getting frustrated, he should answer the question.
It was an excellent point to chase, because here's Anthony Albanese being elected partly on the grounds of integrity and his Integrity Commission. And there was a superb opportunity for him to cut free from the CFMMEU and make a clean break from the worst of the union movement. Well, the PM fell back into Labor's old subservient practice of being a lapdog to their cash cow unions. The ABCC would be no more.
The ABCC has not done anything to improve workplace safety. It doesn't do anything to guard against wage theft.
So the unions won't have to pay $15 million in fines, as they were forced to do by the ABCC in the past 6 years. That proven foul behaviour and the additional behaviour that occurs when the union cop leaves the beat will continue unabated. In Parliament this week, the Prime Minister selectively picked on a failed ABCC prosecution to illustrate how vindictive the ABCC was. But let's not be selective tonight for this exercise. Let's just highlight the latest case before the federal court from today's news. The Telegraph reported that a judge has compared the actions of two CFMMEU representatives to those of troglodytes, imposing the maximum fines of $12,000 for improper actions on a rail project that included one of the officials accusing a safety advisor of trying to look at his privates in a toilet, after the other official had used the homophobic slur pumpkin eater towards the advisor. Judge Salvador Vasta stated, the behaviour of uttering quite disgusting homophobic slurs has been consigned to the chapters of the dark history of Australia, where the hurling of vitriolic insults which targeted a person's sexuality, race or religion were unfortunately tolerated, as if such belittling and bullying was something that a victim just had to cop. Well, won't the two union reps involved, Luke Gibson and Andrew Blakely, be celebrating the end to the days of being punished for such behaviour? All the thugs will be celebrating. But it gets worse. As we discovered in the Senate this week, their ecstasy began back in June. Senator Murray Watt admitted that Labor gave the CFMMEU priority consultation on the abolition of the Commission.
On the following dates since the election. On the 17th of June this year, a meeting was held with the CFMEU Construction Division.
So the beneficiaries of such a gross decision to drop the ABCC, they're the ones that are consulted first. Work that out. I wonder whether it was a meeting or just a full-blown party. And the real victims of such a decision had to wait another month before being told the bad news.
On the 19th of July, a meeting was held of the National Workplace Relations Consultative Council at Parliament House. I'm advised that at this meeting, the Minister informed stakeholders that, quote, the building code will be amended to ensure that workers in building and construction are subject to the same rules to those in other industries.
And there's Labor's contrived reason for abolishing the Commission, to ensure that workers in building and construction are subject to the same rules to those in other industries. Well, if so many union reps didn't have such a profound shoddy reputation for thuggery, bribery, violence, threats and extortion, they wouldn't need a commission to pull them into line. But they do. There are some things that happen in a free and democratic nation like ours that comprehensively fails all tests for justice and fair play. This is one of them. This is one of them. The supposed integrity-based new Labor government. Because once again, every construction site in the country will experience the best of the worst in bullying and extortion, which will add millions to the cost of so many building projects. Labor has just put the unions back in charge.